Yeah, she's an exciting person.
A lot of energy.
I had to take my mask off for that.
A lot of energy.
Yeah.
I think the county store allows his companies just Friday to see the house, discuss the water. Everything else is going on. If you like to go. All set, Kevin? Okay. Yeah, I believe that's the name. Yeah. We're looking at doing a project at Renter's house.
I
475.
What are your daughter doing? She wants to
know, see her, let me just, email her real quick. I don't have her cell phone number.
And then.
Do you know Kevin Franklin?
No, never heard of him.
He was fire chief for years for Manans. Nice guy.
He was enthusiastic about sharing information.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
So it's 500 and something.
475.
Route 9.
Yeah, she's got a partner.
So how are your daughters? She all right? She doing good in Syracuse?
Right side.
What?
That's 360.
Really? 4 years of going by there?
Yes. Kevin shared that was the west entrance.
Big white building.
It's amazing.
Further down, and that's really a story. This is outside. It's an older house. Western York. It's like the one where it's got the columns.
She'll find something.
I think that's when you're speaking.
No, there's the one that's over.
She'll find it here.
And that was,
Further up the way.
That's good.
Yeah.
She probably gonna stay around.
those big gross red
I think she'd like to.
stones, that was wheelers. Stones there. And the wall of the fields in front of it.
I think she thinks that would be. Oh, there she is. Okay. Hi, Marilyn.
Go by, drive by it fast.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I lived there decades ago. And I go back there and say, oh.
Okay, everyone, I would like to call this meeting to order.
Sounds good.
We muted or?
She shouldn't be.
It's on.
Try now.
Okay, now I'll call the meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Albany Historic Resources Commission. And welcome all to this hybrid presentation of in-person and virtual. We certainly invite comment from the public. We just request that any comments offered be held to the topic at hand and limited in duration to 3 minutes. This evening, we had myself, John Myers, the chair of the commission, Commissioner McEnany, Commissioner Hacker, Commissioner Pinckney, and Commissioner Garrity, all present in person, and Commissioner Kaplan participating by Zoom. Martha Mahoney represents the legal department, keeping us on the straight and narrow, and Aaron Glennon, staff to the HRC, is also present. Declare we have a quorum. The meeting this evening is a combination public hearing for one item and a public workshop to review two proposed items that would be coming up in the next, in an upcoming HRC meeting for a more formal review.
I'm sorry, who's on Zoom?
Marilyn.
Marilyn. So we can proceed with the public hearing portion. The item is 184 South Swan Street in the Center Square, Hudson Park Historic District. And this is the repair of an existing stoop. We, some members of the commission went to the site to visit after the workshop that we had a few weeks back, and to observe the conditions. And the applicant is returning with some new information in terms of what is proposed for this stoop restoration, recreation. So I would ask the applicant to introduce themselves and present the particulars of what they're proposing to do.
You can sit right at the top table.
I'll stand behind you.
I'll stand. Okay. Charlie Silverstein, it's my partner, Phil Hansen.
And I don't think there's any presentation about what needs to be done. We did that at the workshop. Some of you came down and saw the site. And Aaron sent, and John had suggested Harriscraft. Aaron sent a couple of, well, how to contact Harriscraft and a couple of other possibilities. Because our original proposal was for brick, I brought show and tell. So this is the brick that we were proposing. And that job was going to cost us about a little over $5,000. As I mentioned last time, our entire last year's profit on this was $3,457. So we're not looking at spending vast sums of money. We took down the rest, with permission, we took down the rest of the brownstone before it fell on somebody and hurt them. But this is why we're not proposing to put anything back up. Putting this stuff up, which has a design life of 40 to 50 years and is now 140 years old, it's like putting bald tires on new rims. This just doesn't make sense. So we looked around, and several of the people that Aaron suggested either said they don't deal with, we need 100 square feet, don't deal with quantities that small. But Harriscraft has a local distributor in Grimm Building Materials up on Green Island. And so I went up, talked to a fellow there by the name of Jim Howard, and he loaned me what they can supply, which is this. It's on a dolly because the thing weighs more than you can possibly imagine. But that's what it would look like. They can dye it red-brown. If we buy 100 square feet of it, they're willing to dye it red-brown so that it would look sandstone in color. It's, as you can see, it's about 3 inches higher than the existing brownstone. The existing brownstone is 8 inches, this is 11.5. And it's 4 inches thick and the same length as the stones that were there were 18, 24, and 30. And they come in 24. That's all they come in, 24. So, but anyway, that's our proposal. If we can get the mason to put it up for anything near the price that he would do brick, we would put that up.
What is that stone?
It's cast stone, so it's calcium silicate, and it's way more durable. I sent Aaron a spec sheet on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone got it on the table.
Can it be cut to the size of the existing stones? Like, the rectangular, because your existing stones have various sizes.
Well, I'm sure it can be. You can do anything. It's a matter of how much you want to spend to do it.
And that's how thick it comes. It doesn't
That's
come
the
in the
standard 4 inch. That's what this used to be.
So at Grimm, they're going to dye that
Yep.
calcium silicate or cast concrete in some way?
Yep.
They're just going to dye that existing product for you? Is that how?
That's my understanding
That's what
from what you
it
said,
sounded
yeah.
like.
Because the fellow at Lee was saying, because they were going to run them, obviously to make something more at the height of the mound, you want to this in that sense.
But they have this in stock, and so they were willing to, because they have it in stock, they're willing to sell it to us for $15 a block, which works out to about $900 for the materials, plus tax and delivery. So that puts that into, assuming that the mason comes back with a reasonable estimate, that puts that into a category that we could justify with our income.
Well, you would think that that it wouldn't cost as much for the mason to put that up rather than brick, because brick, 8 inches by 2 inches, that's a lot of, handwork.
Well, we'll see.
Bigger, who knows?
I just picked that sucker up and said, I know way I'm gonna do that, so.
I could see an application that being somewhat trickier to do to cut out for the steps, because the brownstones were about the thickness of the steps, not 8 inches. You're gonna be doing a whole different type of dam. And the mason's gonna be, cutting that concrete to accommodate the stairs.
So you're saying when those bricks were originally done, they were 4-inch bricks?
They were 4 inch thick, yeah, they were 4 inch by 8 inch by either 18, 24, or 36.
Yeah.
My fear is that installing those thicker blocks, those blocks are going to project beyond the face of the landing and those steps.
Well,
That's what I'm thinking.
it's possible, but those, in the picture that you see, and you were down there, so you saw it,
Mhm.
there's a space between those blocks and the
There is a
wall
gap.
because
There
they've
is a gap.
separated.
There is a gap.
I think it's pretty great that you can get block in there instead of brick. It's
No, I think this is very encouraging.
Mhm.
I'm glad that it panned out as a viable alternative to what was being considered. And I think, the 4-inch thickness would probably, we'd have to, verify that, but I think it would probably work reasonably well, because that's what the original brownstone was, in all likelihood, was 4 inches thick. So, did Graham offer any information on the nature of the die and the permanence of the die?
No, but they didn't offer, but I didn't ask, I'm gonna ask. All I have is I have the spec sheet that he sent me, and he said we could dye it to red-brown to match brownstone. So I took him at his word.
Yeah, I'd like to know, be interesting to know how long lasting that dye is.
Right.
If it's a surface application, which if they have those in stock, it probably is a surface application.
As a die, it would penetrate a certain depth
Yeah.
into the porous material, because it's dense. It's an extremely dense material. And it is porous as well. So it would probably last longer than us.
I think it's a much more historically appropriate solution than the brick. In appearance wise. And I don't know, I can't force you or force the outfit to cut those pieces to match the pieces that you have already there. Because that's an extra something,
Yeah.
So just having that rough faced and joints, that you have to figure out how you're gonna cut that to fit under the blocks, the stair blocks. But
I assume that's what the mason is, he said we're going down tomorrow to grab, to spec it out.
Be nice if you can get the color to match that brownstone.
We'll see.
The same.
I'll see what he can do. I'll ask him about the permanency of the die.
Portable sample you can bring up there.
That was, they don't have any that are dyed right now, but I went to pick it up at Graham, and I was figuring I'd just toss it in the back of my truck.
Fooled you.
The older one is easier to lift. Yes, the new one's a lot heavier.
Well, the older one's only half of it there, so that makes it a lot easier.
A small fragment of its former self.
Chris wants to check it out. He wants to see it. Does it really have a solution for so many people? No, it's not cast concrete, it's like.
No, it's cast stone, they said.
It's like 2.5 stone.
Is Marilyn curious about what it looks like?
I'm gonna take a picture for her, so I'm gonna send it to her. If you have questions, can you sit down and ask so that Marilyn can feel like part of the, you can get the conversation of the recording?
Actually, Erin, did you see that note? I asked if somebody would send me a photo.
I'm gonna take one for you.
Thank you, thank you.
And as you get more information from the Mason, you'll keep Aaron informed. Yep, at present, you've taken down the other.
Yeah, the stuff that you saw in the picture hanging up there looked
Right.
like it was a hazard.
Yeah.
So I called and got permission to take it down.
Okay.
And I was told that we would be allowed to take it down if we stored it. And I said, well, we'll store it, but we aren't gonna reuse it. So we've got it stored.
Okay, well, as long as it's stored and protected, I mean, it is,
No more protected than there was before.
okay.
It's stored.
So the intent is to proceed with this, you know, given all the numbers being equal and acceptable.
Yeah.
That you would proceed in the springtime.
Yeah.
To lay this up and stabilize the wall.
If you can protect, what's the brick substrate during the winter?
No, it's gonna be like that. The mason, when he came down and inspected, said it's structurally fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's your mason?
Bill and Miles, masonry. George.
The guy that, Jim Howard, the guy at Grim said, oh yeah, we work with them all the time.
Well, since this is a meeting and we need to render a decision on this, I would entertain a motion from the commissioners for us to.
Do you want to wait until Marilyn has a chance to look at the picture?
I did get to, Erin sent me some photos. It looks like it's very interesting. In terms of the dye, I anticipate, like with most dyes that go into masonry, they will change color over time. And we'll start to see some white spots, efflorescence there, and even the brown, think of tinted sidewalks that you've seen that kind of lose some of their color. So with the dye, I guess my gut says it might be useful to go a slightly bit darker than the color of the brownstone, which I assume they will be looking to match. There's quite a range of colors for dye, and it's just I don't think that will be difficult getting what you want. I guess, where did the conversation end up, Lee, relative to cutting these, cutting the units? Because that wouldn't be, they've got big masonry saws at Grimm or, any of the big stone shops do. So where did that conversation just go?
We'll have to see what the mason says.
Okay,
But I'm quite sure that it's going to have to be cut, especially around the stair blocks. Because this is the only size it comes in. What's that size?
That size is 11 and a half by 24 by 4.
And the stone joints are smaller than that. The horizontal joints. The existing horizontal.
The existing are 8 rather than
8
11
inch
and a half.
blocks,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
vary in length. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you start cutting these new blocks to match the size of the older blocks, you get into extra money.
what's the cost per unit? Just purchasing them.
$15 a block for these blocks, so we need $900 worth of these blocks.
Okay. Well, some will need to be cut just to fit the existing conditions. So I guess the other question is,
Yeah, I would think it would be worth investigating the cost of cutting them down to 8s.
Mhm.
That's the existence, but maybe an easier application for the mason to set them horizontally too.
Yeah, it'll take him 1.5 times as many of them, which raises our basic cost before they even cut them.
But if the shop can cut them for a reasonable price, it might be worth it. It could be a trade-off as well. Other than cutting in the field.
I'll ask this.
I think it's a much better solution than the original idea of brick.
Yeah.
It comes real close to matching the texture and appearance of the original stone. And
Well, it's also a large enough module, that it differentiates itself from the brickwork of the building, which is what the existing stoop does.
I think that potentially it's a very nice solution, and thank you for the effort to track this down.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we'd like to do it right too. Our constraints are budget, not a desire to do it right. So, when we found something that looks like we can do it right, fine.
Like resolution.
Yes.
I'd like to approve the plan as presented with the understanding that you would work out other details if anything could be closer to the original, but that would depend on the cost of dealing with Grimm, and that you proceed accordingly.
Yeah.
We'll keep you informed because we're not gonna do anything until spring anyway.
Yep, and Erin would be here she knows the feelings of the board and of the commission and of your own as well.
Jack, can I just clarify? Are you approving the proposal as proposed for the brick or as the revised proposal?
For the
these
revision.
Okay,
as-
can you
as-
just
as presented
clarify?
today.
Yeah.
second,
I would just request that we also get information about the dye be provided to Aaron for distribution to the commission, so we can examine that as well. Are there any other comments that people have? Any comment from the audience?
Just,
The audience in attendance or the virtual audience? Okay. I would then call this to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion is carried. And thank you for your cooperation in investigating alternatives. I think this is very encouraging.
Thank you. Thank you.
The building will love you for it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Grim may be interested in getting some of those that are good for repairing other jobs.
Well, Adam Ross may be interested.
Yeah,
I'm not sure Grim has any interest in
that's
brownstone.
true.
Okay, the next item to come before us is a workshop agenda item, and it is 22 Elizabeth Street, South End, Grosbeckville Historic District. And it's a concept review for alteration to an existing building. Existing building with a big red X on it, as I
Yes,
saw earlier this evening.
yeah, there it is. Gorgeous that. Good evening. Danny Sanders, Harris Sanders Architects. Our proposed renovation of this vacant building dilapidated significantly in the inside, and hopefully this winter is coming up will not make it any further deteriorated. It's on a corner lot, and the proposal is to renovate the 2 floors and add an addition on a section of the 2nd floor. There's already 2-story section with the right side, as you see there, would be the south side, and then the overhead door would be replaced with clad windows, and then the addition on the 2nd floor would be an addition as a 2nd floor apartment. So essentially, the project is going to end up being 2 2-bedroom apartments in the building. At the end of the day, the renovation will include renovation of the 1st floor, a staircase up to the 2nd floor, and an addition facing Elizabeth and Catherine that you see on the west and south elevations. And everything else would be repaired in place. The other change on the south elevation is we would be adding a window that's consistent with the window on Elizabeth Street, 1st floor, for the bedroom on both the 1st story and the 2nd story. The garages would be maintained in place. They will just be for the tenants. And the repair work is going to be significant on the interior. We don't need to really talk about that today, but the building is structurally compromised. And as far as doing that work, you won't really see any changes from the exterior. The facade's actually in pretty good shape. It should be able to be repaired. And we're looking at parging the television as it is repair needed on that as well.
So it's just the garage and the unpainted brick portion.
The garage is CMU, concrete masonry unit, right now. Will be maintained in place. There's no real work to be done on that. That's
And it will remain as a garage.
correct
Okay.
on Catherine.
Mhm.
The corner lot would be maintained, hopefully without cars parked there, but would be maintained as a corner vacant lot.
Mhm. But it's the garage and that southern piece.
Correct.
That two-story
The other garage, yes, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So that other building north of that is not a part of this?
No, we just drew that in for scale.
Okay.
Just, again, the challenge we talked about with Erin before presenting tonight, and again, this is for discussion, by no means do I feel like we're done, but looking at
to acknowledge that it's an addition, not to try to, our initial proposal was to provide a brick veneer and continue the horizontal lines of the building across, and that still could work, and then paint all the bricks, so you won't see a different color. That was, our initial thought of the scope of work. And then after discussing with Aaron to acknowledge that it is in a later addition with a compatible historic material to be provided instead of brick, we are looking at a hardy siding. And then in terms of the window configuration, we had a couple different options there, whereby we had a single either bay window or tripartite window, but we decided to go with more of a single double hung windows, 1/1. It's a challenge. And as far as the project itself, the owner initially wanted to put a convenience store there, but it was a zoning issue. I still, we're just talking right now, I would still love to see a convenience store in there, but it's too close to other convenience stores on Morton Avenue. And we have to go through a variance process, and we were looking at putting an addition to the corner as part of a larger project. So that would be truly, like a 1,500 square foot convenience store. But I'm just bringing that up as one other option that we did look at. So going back to the two-family house and the historic issues that we would be concerned about, that's why I'm here tonight.
I think it's a pretty good idea. I do think, though, that the addition should be held back away from the face of the building. And that's just a typical design thing with additions, rooftop additions, and things. You can't push it all the way back.
Right. Well, the circulation, if we go back to the floor plan, again, I appreciate that comment. I think it's just something we would need to discuss, where the way the staircase works. Right now, that's actually, believe it or not, an existing location for the stair up to a mezzanine. And that location, if we push it back, the stair probably could stay there, and then maybe push the addition back to that first wall line of the stair, maybe about 3.5 feet back or so. Structurally, would be my concern again, that we would have to have some bearing for that new exterior wall instead of bearing on the existing exterior wall. So if we took that as our point, then I think we could look at that as well. That would be the next logical setback.
Yeah, so where the stairs are now, is that the garage?
No, the stairs are on the right side where those two windows are.
The stairs,
Yeah,
I'm looking at
I'm looking on the left.
this is the two-story structure here, or this is the two-story structure here, and then this is the addition over the garage.
Right.
This is the garage on the first floor.
Okay.
Is it?
It is.
Well, the dash line, I'm just pointing out, is the one story that we're putting a second floor on top of.
Yeah.
And then the section on the right side is an existing mezzanine that we're putting part of the second floor apartment on and linking it up. So that's how, we're looking at maintaining the existing two-story section and then building up to the north side of it, a true living room and bedroom height space. The other space is honestly going to be probably about 7.5 feet. That's what it is now, the mezzanine.
Can I see what it looks like again from the front, as I'm disoriented
The
here?
elevation,
Yeah. Yeah. So the building on the left is just there for scale?
Yes,
Okay. And you're combining the two as one unit?
yes.
Okay.
And we're raising the section of the north side of the addition above the again, for discussion, cornice detail, et cetera, making it just a very simplified addition, but we're getting a little height because again, that is probably gonna pitch front to back, so we need to have some volume there as we look at the depth of the building and making the roof basically a flat roof.
So the stairs going up is to the right of that entrance door, am I
Right here.
correct?
Yeah,
Yep, behind these windows.
Yeah, yeah. Those windows are gonna be, the stairs gonna be in that.
Oh, so basically those windows do not serve a purpose other than being windows on the outside?
Correct. I mean, we might shift that if we need to, but it's just, it's not ideal. We could start the stair, but then we wouldn't have as much headroom on the first floor.
Mhm.
how do the windows on the added second floor work with the floor level?
They're pretty high.
I'm sorry, they're.
They would be pretty high off. I have to give you a section of that, of course, but yeah, they're about
Or a
5 feet
dotted
off the
line
floor.
that shows the floor level running through.
correct.
from
The first floor to the second floor is about 7.5 to 8 feet to the mezzanine. I mean, if we could change it, we would, but it's kind of like, we're trying to figure out honestly if this project is viable because of a lot of those issues, more so structurally, but it's, it wouldn't have been an issue if it was a convenience store. And that's something that I would like maybe to talk about at some point, but it's just, it's tough. It's a very, to reuse this building and make it apartments, because that's permitted. Again, I'm not gonna get on a soapbox here, but I think it's worth discussing. Because in terms of its former use, historically, it was not an apartment, I would dare say.
Or some sort of carriage house, commercial structure.
Sure.
Now, all that CMU block or the garage that comes perpendicular
Yeah.
off the right side?
Yeah.
Does that actually go beyond the building we see to the right?
If you go to the plan,
Oh,
it notches right into the side of the garage.
and that's where there's two garage bays, or
Correct.
two garage door
Garage,
openings.
2 garage doors, right?
And that whole parcel, that whole
Grass.
block is one
Oh, it
parcel.
says
It's the
garage.
same
I thought it said
parcel.
garage. That's what.
No, the garage is in the back right corner.
Right,
building.
garage.
Yeah, the grass is the vacant lot,
There.
correct.
There.
I mean, as I said, we're getting back to ideally reusing that site. In addition, could be done, possibly. That's the backyard. That was part of the original building, but it's really collapsed.
Do you have any second means of egress from the second floor?
As of now, we only have the single stair and the windows would be egress windows.
So Dan, is your question about the, from a concept standpoint, the acceptability of the addition?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any problem with there being an addition there. It sounds like you've got a lot to resolve yet. So if that's the question, is that what we should focus on versus materials or the elevations that you've got to work through? And
If that's directed to me, I would say just for a little feedback on the materials would be appreciated. The fenestration proposed, we did propose a pretty good sized living room window there that was formerly existing overhead door, and with some raised panels on the lower 2.5 feet of it as an infill. That could, be discussed, but functionally that's reusing, that's opening.
I think it's a good idea. I think the concept works. It puts the building back to use. We still have to work out what setbacks, well, not setbacks, but that particular setback that I was thinking about should be considered. think it works. As a concept, I think it works pretty well.
You don't want to push the convenience store, do you? No, I'm
Not
just
up to
kidding.
It's not ours. Not ours.
I'm on record, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's definitely some details and some sections that we're gonna pursue, and again, we have a structural engineer on board to just salvage the existing framing, and coming back to the heights and a section through the front, yes, we understand. If you wanna look at us setting it back, if that's something you'd like to explore, we'll look at it. I guess my only concern about that is the viability of the project when we lose, 4 feet from a living room that was never very big. Or if it's 4 feet or 3 feet.
No, it doesn't have to be 4 feet, that's pretty
Right.
substantial.
Is there a basement on the building on the right there?
As far as I can tell,
Doesn't look like.
there is not. I think it's on a crawl space, but I will double check that. I don't recall the staircase going down, but there may be a partial basement. I haven't been in the building for a while.
Do you have a photograph of the original that was? No, we don't.
No.
Did
I
you,
will-
you don't have anything
I
from way
couldn't
back?
find anything, I went,
How about like right now? Contemporary photograph.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Might be something on the blue form.
there wasn't anything, no, for either of these buildings.
They're both ex-buildings, but yeah, the other one became.
There's another way to differentiate the addition to push it forward maybe a foot or so, or a foot and a half. Come over the front, over the garage.
Projecting it is, personally, it doesn't look well.
No.
Pushing it out brings more attention to it. Pushing it back, when it recedes, it draws less attention.
And choice of color will make a difference too.
I guess I just, that setback treatment roofing is what we would look at as something you could play around with in terms of possibly a little shed or something like that.
If you set it back, you keep the iron coping.
Yes.
That's all part of the
Yeah.
historic
Yeah.
appearance of the building. And when you look at the building with a setback, the first thing you see is basically the building, the historic facade. Then you see the addition. And I think putting it in a different material works pretty good, instead of using brick.
Sure.
Differentiating material certainly helps identify it. And, if you do push it back, even a small amount, that may free you up to do something a little different with the windows.
Okay.
Because it doesn't have to necessarily respect the punched opening rhythm that you have in the neighboring building and in this building. So it's another design consideration that we could pursue.
And this doesn't show the coping that's on top of the brick wall, so I think when it shows there, that will send the right message.
The terracotta, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that's designed is flush with the brick.
Correct. It's a good point. Thank you.
Anytime, Danny.
I think if you go back to the photo,
Yep.
Aaron, you have a continuous lintel over the two windows and door.
Yes. Which,
There's some nice
Interesting.
elements to the building to work with.
Do you think that was one big opening where the stone lintel is that goes across? Because those windows are pretty small.
yeah.
The brickwork underneath that seems to be,
It didn't look like it's infill though.
Yeah, an alteration, as you
I
say.
don't know, it didn't really look like that. It's not, there's not a clear strike there.
Right, no.
So I don't know what, unless it was 3 windows. 3 equal windows and no door or something.
It could have been, because that's the
Because they
rule.
seem spacing wise.
And that's unpainted. That's unpainted sandstone, am I correct?
Correct.
Very rare feature these
12
days.
It's like 12 feet wide.
Wow. That's a unique piece of stone.
Yeah.
How wide is the building on the right?
You say the building on the right, our building, total?
Yeah.
About 25 feet. I will double check it.
For both of them put together,
The front of the building is about 25 feet.
of the whole project? Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Did they always connect?
It appears that they did from going in the building. I mean, the structural steel that spans the, you can see those C channels on the left, those are columns.
Yeah.
I should have taken some interior pictures, but that goes wall to wall.
Huh.
Those are like those steel truss and then it's supporting the mezzanine. I'll get some pictures.
Do they have a different street number, the left and right?
Yes. I believe that they did at one point.
Did they?
They were different parcels.
They were different parcels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell by the back that they were different, sort of different.
Yeah.
And you say the treatment of the south elevation will be charged on that brick?
That's what's there now. I don't know how you feel about any other material.
No, I mean, that sounds fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the time we're done repairing the brick and from the inside out or outside in, you're gonna wanna see it polished.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty. And I will play around with the staircase a little bit after looking at it, but I don't wanna lose too much headroom on that kitchen, so, let's see. I like it.
The top part on the Catherine Street side, is that something new that would hide the slope? Because I assume you're gonna have it sloped to the rear, the roof.
Correct.
So that's basically a way to disguise the fact that it slopes back.
Like a parapet you're talking about for Catherine? Yes, we would have to have that. But I'll get you a section
Yeah,
for that.
the alternative is it would slant as well, but it might be too busy. If it had a parapet that just honestly said that it slants toward the east, you could have it all covered over with the arching and
Oh, would you like to see, instead of the siding going on, that was another thing I wanted to talk about possibly.
and I'm
Would you
wondering.
like a continuous, I was thinking that would look better, honestly, parged on the east,
I think you're attracting attention to it and
but
disrupting.
it is set back, so I don't know if it matters
It might
one way
be,
or another.
first of all, it was made to have another building in front of it, so you wouldn't have to look at it.
Right.
That's a vacant lot. And, I don't know, it's the simplest thing to do with that wall that was never supposed to be looked at in the first place. Is it easier to just, take the parging, obviously, and take the masonry and move it up where it has to be higher in the front and shorter in the back, and then just the parging would cover it, and just have one simple open space with 2 windows. Why are you attracting attention to it with a different, very modern material? It's never been a wood frame building. It's always been a masonry building. You'd be better off to stay with the consistency of the masonry, run it up to as high as you have to have a parapet to.
On Elizabeth or just Catherine?
Catherine.
That's what I'm saying, even though it's set back. from the other building, that elevation. You know,
Yeah, that, the
large
wood,
section.
the hardy board siding that you're seeing is set back considerably from the face of the brickwork, correct?
It's set back about 12 feet.
Yeah, that's the height of the addition.
Correct.
Right, that's the addition beyond.
Yeah, that's not butting up to it, that's set back. So I didn't know if you wanted,
It looks like it comes right to the outside east wall.
I gotta get the 3D for you next time, I think. We'll
No, if you go back
put
to
something
the,
together.
if you go
No,
back
that's
to the
set
front
back.
elevation,
Yeah,
it clearly shows how far
Yeah.
back that is.
that's set back.
Okay.
So I don't know how you felt if that should be hardy as well, or would you like to see?
Oh, I
that
don't
part?
care then. If it's back that far, you won't even see it.
Okay, so we'll keep the hardy.
Hardy.
No, and I think keeping that, differentiating that
Right.
box
Yeah.
that sits there, you're inserting this little wooden box
Right, that's
in
all it
that
is.
notch in the building.
Sure.
That's okay.
That works fine for me.
Okay.
Is there a coping along the edge of the brick building that's facing Catherine?
I don't know. If you go back again, I don't think there's,
Oh,
I
okay,
think that's
there's not.
shot.
Just a wall.
Yeah.
It's sort of a wall.
You may want to provide some type of terminus at the roof line,
Oh, yes.
some type of
Yeah,
cornice or fascia or
Well,
something.
some just cope, I mean, when we re-roof the thing, we gotta do something on that cope.
Yeah.
So I'll mention that we'll have a new metal coping on that at
Mhm.
least.
I do like it.
No, I think it's great that, someone wants to come forward and put the building back into.
Well, he already
good
owns
use.
it. Milton Pena, who has the market on Morton, what is it, 80? Why do I wanna say 80? No, lower number than that. It's got a market on Morton where the South End redevelopment projects were right below in the 60s. I think it's like 50 something more.
59?
Yeah, that might be on it. So he owns it. And he's, looking to redevelop it.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, it is.
Better than having it torn down,
Right. Well, that's
like so many other.
That's what he wanted to do at first. I said, no, we gotta fight for this.
There'll be one less red X.
Yeah, right.
Now you have to just take care of the red X next door.
I didn't realize, I don't know, it's not that bad. It's not in that bad shape, that building.
Oh, really? That's an interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I mean,
Yeah, it seems like so long.
That's what it's how that is exciting.
It's a great picture of the old McGraw's Tavern on the corner. It's a World War II picture, and it has a billboard that's been put on it, which has the names of all the boys from that ward who served up with me.
Oh, really?
The old Fourth Ward, also known as Dutch Hollow. It's right where the blank spot would be underneath the fire escape. It's a great picture. It's pretty well known. But it's not on an angle which would tell us anything about the others.
Do we have any other comments to offer, Dan, or you?
I think I'm all set with
Yeah.
next phase and next.
One other thing is, on the right, these are extra wide windows compared to
Yes,
the more vertical,
Right.
skinny look. I have to go and look
I have
this
to
up
double
and see what
check
it was.
safely what those widths are. I have to double, on our next iteration. I thought they're 3 foot, they may be 3.5 feet,
Yeah.
but, yeah, proportionally, I have to double check.
They're unusually large.
Yes.
All three of those windows are not like anything else on that block or in that neighborhood that I know.
Again, that kind of reinforces the point. If you do push that back just a little bit,
It's gonna look,
The addition, you've got a lot more flexibility in dealing with the windows.
And do anything with the brick and cleaning it or painting it or whatever? Has it been painted to your knowledge?
no,
Don't paint it.
no,
Then you don't paint it.
no, we're not going to. We've been told.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Have a nice holiday.
Yeah, you do the
You
same.
too.
You too. Okay. All right, the next workshop agenda item is 257 South Pearl Street, Mansion District. We're looking at a much more substantial addition.
Yes, it is, a little bit bigger than Dad's.
Yeah.
My name is Mike Roth. I'm an architect at Straka Roth Gilmore Architects in Schenectady. And I have been working with the city mission for many years. The two buildings that are right across the street from the police station, which are the old warehouses. We did that for the mission, the two on Arch Street. They did a wonderful job. I don't know if you've been in there, but you should go in there and see what they've done. And we treated that, proportionally the way it would, the windows are the exact windows. Everything is good in that building. And the interior, it's amazing what the city mission can do, with donations. And they actually, I'm getting off topic, but they actually have a program that the people who are homeless, they train them. So they'll have a master carpenter, and then they'll have them working along with the master carpenter. By the time they're done with their program at the mission, they are carpenters. And it helps get, they can put these buildings together, I don't want to say very reasonably, but that, they much less than what it would normally cost.
How many residential units in that first building that's
Oh, gee,
closer to South Pearl? Because there's another building also that's closer.
Yeah, that's the women's building up there.
The,
This is the men's.
or the men's building is the one that's done.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both completed now.
Oh, okay.
They're both completed now.
So you get,
But anyway, so what they have now, they currently have a big issue with the code blue and the number of people that are coming into it's bad, hard to say, but that are in the downtown area and the mission's trying to help. And when it's code blue time, there are people sleeping in the corridors. They have to put mats down, they sleep in the corridors. So what we're trying to do is create an addition where they have more day room space to keep people off the streets and some more dormitory space, which is equivalent to what they have in the existing building. If you look, the upper portion, this is the Pearl Street side, and the other side is Trinity. The Pearl Street side, that whole upper level of the portion to the left is dormitories and rooms for people. The dormitories are people who are just there. As they graduate up in the program, they might get to a two-person or a four-person room, and so on and so forth. Okay, and this is the program of the mission. The proposed addition, as you see it from the Pearl Street side, is setting back probably 50 feet from Pearl Street. So I sort of tried to convey that's what it is. And if you notice, the proportion of the windows are very much similar to what the windows are there now. Now, this abuts the historic district. The building that you see to the right, which is Mr. Swire's attorney building, that's in the historic district. Right? If you look at the building or the elevation that you see on the lower one, which is Trinity Place, there are The building to the left is an existing building, needless to say, that both, they're actually all owned by the mission, and they are apartments for the, again, as you graduate up, okay, they have these apartments that they have them stay. They may stay for 6 months or a year, but at this point, they have jobs, okay? So what I tried to do, when you look at the portion on more Trinity Place than the other side, the Pearl Street side, is I tried to break up that elevation such that it was more in the proportion and the rhythm of the other buildings, but at the same time try to blend the two together. So the first, you'll see 3 sections there, okay? The first section is right on Trinity Place, and the second one is set back, all right? The third one, I changed the material. The reason for setting it back is the mission currently has this nice brick fence that sort of surrounds the mission on Trinity. And so I was trying to keep the fence, but at the same time, I had to have exits out of these dormitories. So by pushing it back, I think it's probably 5 or 6 feet. It allows me to get my exits out without exiting right on the street, okay? Whereas the first one is right on the street, okay? The cornice is the same cornice that we have on the building. Again, I was trying to blend the two together, right? You'll notice the cornice to the left-hand side on Trinity Place is a much heavier cornice and a little more ornate. The one in the middle is less ornate, and then the one on the building is following what's on the other one, but again, proportionally is about this, it is very similar. There's a couple of renderings. I did a couple of quick sketches of what it looked like. And these are very quick hand sketches, okay, not computer sketches. So you can sort of see, you know, how the street does slope down, and you can see the proportion of that building. It sort of fits along Trinity Place as you go further on down. There's a lot of voids in Trinity Place, and of course you have the Schuyler apartment, you know, senior apartments across the street, which is much bigger and massive. You have the 2 buildings here on Arch Street, which are much bigger and massive.
I don't think they're senior apartments.
Well, whatever they are.
They're
Let's put it this way, when I was
fair market.
What are they?
They're just fair market.
Are they fair market?
Yeah,
Well,
very nice.
I remember it as a high school, okay?
Yep.
My grandfather actually lived on that street, right across the street from there. You know,
Nice.
I was Albany born and bred.
Nice.
You can sort of see the brick and the wrought iron that they have, which goes all the way around the corner and actually ties in a little bit on the front facade as well. But that sort of shows, I would use brick on the mission itself, the main building, which is the old teleservice building, okay, has brick on it, it has block on it, and it has EPIS on it. So my thought is, again, transitional to try and do the same thing and carrying it around the building. This is just another sketch looking from, this would be looking from the north, looking towards the south. You can see the red brick building, which is the mission owns that building, and then next to it would be done in brick. You know, the facade portion would be done in brick, and then the next one might have a blend of brick and EPIS, and then the last one. Again, we haven't totally finalized that. But again, the windows, I'm trying to keep the same proportion that the windows, you'll notice on the lower level on Trinity Place, there's a couple small windows there. That's because there are bunk beds there. And so I had to keep it up, but I'm going to take, my plan is to recess the brick, so proportionally we have a recess and a little reveal in that. Whereas the ones up above are a little bigger because I have the right type of room in there, so to speak.
the two bottom ones.
Yeah.
Really, they look like a suburban townhouse or a row house, or, I'm sorry, a ranch house type of thing. And it clashes with Trinity Place. I understand their function, that there'll be something underneath it, and you might want to try and get some kind of a recessed arch in there that looks like it's the same size as something that you'd normally have on that street.
Yeah, you can't really tell it, but I think there's a very light line there, it's sort of showing a little bit of a recess there, but, and it's not on there.
No, it's not there, but if you,
Yeah, that's a good point, I certainly,
otherwise it looks
disagree
like
with
a basement raised.
yeah, I don't disagree with you, you know, it's just that we have bunks there, so they can't have a,
Yeah, well, you could also, because you don't have a basement level, you could also put a line to show like where that would be consistent with the little porch area. And that would be more like what you would put on that street.
we could put a reveal or a feature strip along the base, but, you know, there is another floor below. What you're seeing is 3 levels on this side. The 4th level is level with Pearl Street.
Well, that building's existing now, right? The little one?
The little one, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to the building next to it, which is the new building.
Yep.
And,
The dark band there,
pardon me?
I'm sorry, the new building?
The new building.
Yeah.
That's next to the little one and has an alleyway in between the two, which is nice. And I think that whole bottom section of that needs to be more compatible with the street. And if you had a drip course, or what do we call it?
Water table.
Water table. If it had a water table that would go at the same level as the stair that you've got going in there, there'd be a consistency for the entire 3 sections.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
So that would blend in more from the street sidewalk level. And then the 2 that look like they belong to a ranch house or a cellar, they could have an enclosed pattern underneath, almost like it looks like the shutters are closed on the bottom.
Yes.
That somehow that they would look like they're part of the same family of the 6 windows in that
Yeah, I
section.
think proportionally that the recess for that window. And actually, I might consider putting in a larger window with just a horizontal line and use a piece of spandrel glass in there, rather than it just being a high awning type window. Okay? That's another way. But I like the water table, and I think I might even consider picking up the cap that you see of the column, of the piers for the fence, and let that line carry across, and maybe change the material right across the entire thing.
You want to be careful about getting any horizontal element in there, like combining those 2 little windows. It's the thing about the Victorian architecture, it's all vertical.
Okay.
You don't want to clash with it.
I guess that's it in a nutshell.
I assume that on Trinity Place, that at some early point in time, these were all row houses.
I'm pretty sure it was, yes.
So by you introducing brick structures and keeping with somewhat of the streetscape, you're not filling in all the blanks.
That's correct.
I think the concept works. It needs some refining, architectural details, like Commissioner McEnany had discussed. The windows, I think the windows should have more verticality, in keeping with the vertical windows on the historic buildings that you have to the left. And that's ephes, am I correct? That the lighter stuff. I don't have a problem with that on the South Pearl Street, looking at the rear of that.
Yeah.
I still don't know how I feel about doing Ephes on Trinity. Yes.
So I will, this is all located within the historic district, except for up till about here. So this is outside of the historic district. The rest of the structure and the back portion is all up to South Pearl Street is all located within the Mansion Historic District.
It was a pretty good idea.
The roof line is fine too.
It's a big building.
It is. But unfortunately, they're in desperate need.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huge need for it.
I hate to say it, but we have to say that.
You know, when we first got the package, I was saying, I looked at it and I said, boy, I really need to see something, you know, what's visible from Pearl Street. And you have that information developed here, so I think it's a good presentation.
Thank you.
Yep.
You say it's desperately needed, and but sensitively integrated into the neighborhood, into that
That's the
district.
big trick. Yeah. And that particular facade that you see on Trinity, we can certainly do. The only reason that I put Ephes on the corner is because I'm trying to sort of blend the two together, I guess, you know. And I might actually consider, you see where that little roof is, which covers the exit doors? I might consider taking and running the masonry along there and around the corner back. I have to be very cognizant. I don't want to spend the admissions money. I'm trying to be careful.
Right.
I think once we get to the point through the planning board, which I think we have another meeting coming up, once we get through the planning board and the mission gets a sort of a go-ahead for this, I will then refine the elevations a little further. I've certainly bring it back to show you. Yeah. We'd love to see it.
I also would like to make a comment concerning the archaeology and the ground disturbance of the construction of the addition. I feel like with the construction of the addition, the HRC would need to request a phase 1A archaeological study by a professional archaeologist hired by the applicant and to be submitted to the HRC for review. I think that with any construction, usually a lot of the projects within the historic districts are reviewed by the SHPO, so that kind of helps us, but this particular one, I don't believe will be. So I can certainly help. There's a lot of archaeologists in the Capital District area. If you need any help with means.
Is that a vacant lot that we're building on?
There is one small building, which is sort of lines up with the first bay to the left. That's coming down.
It's an existing non-contributing structure, so it does not require review by the HRC.
Was it a residence or was it a garage or something?
I believe it's used as storage by the
Well,
mission currently.
it's actually offices, it's currently offices for the city mission for their women's program.
What was that building?
From what I recall, it was a chicken plucker building.
Okay.
The historic chicken plucker building.
That's where they slaughtered the chickens
Yeah.
And they had people sitting around a pit. I remember being there as a kid. You might find a feather. Small. Beyond that, it's parking lot.
But presumably that was all previously disturbed and developed, and those buildings have, whatever was there, disappeared.
Well, most of it was teleservice. Property, when teleservice was there.
Right.
It is required though for any excavation within a historic district or even outside of a historic district if necessary, have a place when they're done.
I think your comments were useful. I think I know the direction I need to go.
Where's the family home? Is it on Ash Grove or the block?
My family?
Yeah.
I was born on Myrtle Avenue right above there.
Oh,
And we moved to Quail Street when I was 5 years old. A lot of activity back in those days, how there was? Lots of activity. Yeah. It was a big Jewish neighborhood, you know?
Yeah. The Angeranes were number 3 on Myrtle.
Well, can we offer any other encouragement, words?
And the encouragement is, I want to see this get going by the spring so that we can make next winter as well. You know, so we don't have, you know, the same issues that they have now. It's a decent sized building, so we want to get in the ground as soon as we can. We would have liked to have gotten in the ground this year, but it just didn't work out.
This does require, it will be going through the seeker process. And planning board will most likely be acting as
The
the
lead
agency.
agency. Okay.
And then it also require a conditional use permit and a development plan review from the planning board. So, until it goes through the planning board process, and a secret determination is made, it'll then come back to the HRC.
It's a big concept.
Well, we certainly look forward to it.
Big concept.
A speedy trip through the planning board.
Well,
Back here.
Right at this point, it hasn't been a speedy trip, so.
Oh, speed bump.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right. No, we certainly appreciate the presentation, the opportunity to look at the project at this point in time.
I mean, Aaron had asked me to add the buildings to the side, so I went down and photographed them, and made them exactly the right scale, you know? Good. And put them on the drawing for you.
Yeah, Lee would have asked for that if it wasn't on the drawing.
There you go.
It provides
Beats into the punch.
provides a sense of scale, you know, it helps.
Well, scale and continuity. Yeah, you're rebuilding that streetscape.
And to some degree you are, yes.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it's not only a question of the verticality of all the buildings, but it's also now blending in with what's happening with the Mission, which is a strong corner.
Right.
I like your little perspective sketches too.
Thank you.
That's really
I think they have more impact in my mind than the front elevations do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you all, I really
Well,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Okay, and there and
Yep.
talk about next steps, okay?
Alright.
All
Well,
right.
as soon as the planning
again.
board needs a, a determination or makes a determination and we have to recognize them as the lead agency,
Mhm.
that'll come before us.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all.
Have a good holiday.
You too.
Was there a fourth item?
Yeah.
No.
There was something that was withdrawn. There was, the application of I'm sorry, not one, at 11 Henry Jensen Boulevard was withdrawn by the applicant
Oh.
after the November workshop.
Oh, okay.
Which one was that?
That was
That was
the,
the grading in front of the window?
Yes, that's withdrawn.
That
it was
withdrew.
withdrawn.
Yep.
And they were going to be considering alternate options. Hopefully.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
night.
thank you.
I see on our hearing agenda, we've got the third quarter vacant building report discussion.
I don't know. I was prepared at the last meeting, I'm not prepared at this meeting to
Okay.
go over it. I think the one other item, that I wanted to bring up with everyone tonight was, a discussion again of going fully virtual, with, sorry. I know that there's, some people have concerns about, raising, virus rates, and just the potential, new variants and things like that. So I did want to bring it up again tonight, for anybody to, if they have any concerns or would rather see the meetings go back to virtual. Marilyn, you've now done this twice on the hybrid. If you have any feedback or have any strong feelings about whether we should continue in the hybrid format or go virtual, kind of wanted to open up to the floor so that if anybody has any concerns.
I guess one question I would have is, technically, is the virtual or the hybrid, how is the speech intelligibility?
It was good. There was a little glitch going on, whereas I wasn't, but I think I just didn't ask Aaron soon enough. I wasn't seeing your screen. I wasn't seeing the big screen. And I didn't know if that was because I couldn't. So I was going through on my other monitor the packages, and then I was kind of Googling a little bit to get the buildings and get a little context. But then Aaron did put the presentations up. So I think that's not really a problem. The speech, what I hear from you guys was very good. I didn't get to see that concrete block, but Aaron sent some photos and that was great. How's the sound back to you?
It
was
seemed
fun.
like the sound was really good tonight. I could hear everybody pretty well.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, we've got some medical stuff going on, so I'm, at least for this, I'm kind of avoiding public spaces. And I suspect even when I'm done with that in a couple weeks, we've got a plan for this maybe anyway, right?
Right, we will be, early in the new year, we will be, either having to find an alternate location to do in-person meetings or going back to being virtual. The HVAC system in this building is being replaced, so the building will be closed down.
Right.
Yeah, if you wanted to. I mean, we would have to find out, we'd have to coordinate our schedules and figure out if there's conflicts with other boards that aren't meeting in City Hall. There's other public locations. I think we had discussed the possibility of the libraries, but I believe that the libraries still are not open to public meetings at this time. So
Was City Hall not a good spot for us to do it? I don't remember. It seemed, oh, it's such a
the
nice.
setup to be able to broadcast is a little bit more difficult. I'm not sure that they have the ability to fully record and broadcast their meetings. I know that they have previously been having issues. The acoustics in there are very difficult as well.
Right.
In the main chambers, the courtroom is difficult to use because you're not really allowed to move anything around.
Yeah. Mayor's conference room would do it.
It's too small.
I enjoy the in-person,
It's like a quarter of this room. Unfortunately. Yeah.
I know I enjoy the in-person camaraderie. Looking at everybody's faces and, Marilyn, if Marilyn was here, she would have been able to walk over here and see and touch the stone. And I understand where you're coming from, Marilyn. And I think if we're protected like we are now, maybe you can provide some hand sanitizers on the way in, on the way out type thing. I think we're good, in my opinion, because I'm going to protect myself as much as possible.
I agree, and if the sound system, it doesn't seem bad in the hybrid version, maybe we can continue as long as possible with the hybrid version, so people can stay home if that's, more comfortable for them, and those of us that feel okay coming in person.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly enjoy the exchange and the interchange that you can have in person, and having the applicants here in person was very helpful as well this evening. Because you could have that kind of open discussion without doing it via Zoom. So, I guess, maintain all of the protocols that are in place, and if we need to reinforce them to a higher degree, but I think the in-person works well for the kind of work we do.
Agreed.
It's,
Yep.
we have kind of a unique thing. I mean, there's always a tendency to hop up and point to the screen.
Right.
It's a little difficult with the hybrid approach, since most people won't see that, but, it's a very tactile experience that we want to maintain.
Actually, in particular, I mean, that concrete block was really heavy, but sometimes, usually we get boards also, right? Not usually, often we will get some material samples for window replacements and composite materials and other things. That's hard to match. But the photos that Aaron sent, that worked really well. I thought those were good and helpful.
Martha, do you know, have you heard anything about if there will be an extension of current?
Okay. Yeah, I can, so I haven't, and I think this year, 2022 is a new legislative year, as Commissioner McEnany would know. So any bills that would be introduced to extend what we are under for open meetings law wouldn't be introduced until January 2022.
It's up in January 15th, correct? The current.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
That was what
I think.
that sounds familiar, but I can probably even confirm on my phone.
Okay. Yeah, because currently I think Martha brought this up at an earlier meeting, commissioners have the ability to currently attend meetings virtually without having to publish their location.
Oh, yeah,
right.
So I think that Martha will check, but if that ends, we'll still be able to attend virtually, but we'll go back to that previous regulation where we would have been required to post addresses. And so it then pulls up that 15-day, like, you need to know 15 days prior to the meeting so that we can post it with the agenda.
Which is where we started with this whole thing, and then
Right.
Yeah.
rescinded it, so,
Yeah,
or altered the guidance.
yeah, once the emergency regulation went up for, regulation where we didn't have to follow meeting law for vacation requirements, so we had to post everything, so.
What is the schedule on this building going offline?
We'll have to double check. I know that they have put out the RFPs. I think they're waiting for bids, and once they have a contractor selected, through the bidding process, they'll then set the project schedule. I think the last time I had heard a date thrown around was sometime in February, but that could change.
Do you know where you're going temporarily?
We'll most likely be working from home. So.
I just missed it.
Oh, the building, the HVAC
Oh,
system's being replaced, so I think our staff will be working from home.
Oh. Did the meeting schedule, did the schedule get finalized that you showed us last time?
It did, and I will send that out this week. We had submitted it to the clerk's office. I don't believe we've heard anything back with any conflicts.
Okay.
So we're gonna try out that 3-week rotation. So we'll have one meeting in January and we'll have 2 meetings in February, and then kind of one the following month, I believe. And all the board meetings will be
Shortest one of the year.
Yeah.
meetings will be scheduled back to back. So planning board will take place on a Tuesday, followed by BZA on Wednesday, and then followed by us on Thursday. So
We're switching to third.
we're switching to Thursdays.
Who is?
We are,
That's kind of rough.
We are?
yes,
When are we switching to Thursdays?
starting in January.
Okay. So, and do we have another December meeting?
I don't believe we will, because the project for 184 South Swan Street was approved tonight.
Okay.
And the other 2 projects were both concept reviews, so unless something comes up for a workshop in the next day,
Okay.
That's great.
we will not be
Let's
meeting
hope for
again
it,
in December.
Yep.
So,
Oh, boy, okay.
yeah, most likely not, so everyone, happy holidays.
That's great.
You too.
And we'll meet again in January.
We all need to be reappointed too.
Not everyone, there, I think
Are
are
we,
3 of you that need reappointments.
we're on a rotation?
Yes,
It's a staggered.
it's a staggered,
Yeah.
like 3, yeah. So,
So what three are being nominated?
I think Jen's reappointment is up.
While you're checking, I have one hybrid question. I'm not showing up on a screen in front of you like 5 foot by 5 foot, am I?
You're pretty big.
I am?
Can I send you a photo?
Oh, wait, is it?
No. Just checking,
You're much larger than we are.
Yes.
larger than life.
There you go.
And unfortunately, I can't find the email
I'll find
on my
it.
phone, but I think it might be January 15th, in which case that would, I think, if the 2022 schedule is adopted that Thursday, I think is the 13th. So it would cover that meeting, but I will confirm and send an email out to the group of when
Yeah.
the hybrid law expires.
And you'll be sending the updated schedule out to everyone.
Yep, and I opened it, and it does, we made sure that we avoid it. Some meeting dates, are slightly off from like the normal 3-week rotation, and if you do notice that a meeting date has been moved, it's most likely to accommodate a holiday.
Mhm.
So we did go through and we checked, all major, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, holidays, make sure that we don't conflict with any of those.
What's our first meeting of January?
I will tell you. It will be, hold on, I believe it's January 13th, but give me 1 second, I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up and share it with everybody.
And we moved to Thursday because BZA does Wednesdays?
So, yes, currently BZA and HRC are on opposite
Right.
Wednesdays, and I pulled the short straw, so.
Oh, really?
So we are moving. I'll be here, so. Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks. So it's a little, it's unfortunate. But we meet 7, like we're getting out of having to meet 7 times, so we reduce it a little bit. So yes, January 13th will be our first meeting.
Okay.
Thursday, January 13th.
Time stays at 6 o'clock.
Yes, let me share this with you, Marilyn.
You'll send that to us.
And I will send this to
Okay.
everybody.
Yeah.
So you can see that.
Great.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Great.
I'll be.
Only one in October.
Only one in October. So, it's either one, so like we'll meet once in January, we'll meet twice in February, we'll meet once in March, twice in April.
St. Patrick's.
I know, we meet on St. Patrick's Day. I'm
You
sorry.
missed that holiday.
I can't make it that night.
Well, if this building is under renovation, we'll have to find a good pub.
We'll find some place, we'll find some place, maybe we can meet at the hall. And we can
It's
have-
like Christmas at our house.
you know.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
So. Listen, we met on St. Patrick's Day this year too, so.
I know, I think I call in for that one.
You do.
That was Zoomville.
Yeah.
It was Zoom.
That was a different time.
So I will send that out, and Kara, I will send that out to you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll send out the one that I just pulled up, and then we also have the one that I think I brought to one of the meetings that has all the holidays and everything, and it's a 12-month calendar as well.
And actually, it's good to see it with the juxtaposition of the other boards.
Yes.
All right. Do we have any other business to come before the HRC this evening? Other than to wish everyone a very happy holiday.
Yeah.
And you'll all be getting paid. We put in payments today.
Oh, there you go.
Jocelyn, make sure your payments got processed today.
Thank you.
Didn't we get a bottle of wine last year too for Christmas, or was that?
That did happen.
No, I think that was in lieu of that, I don't know,
Yeah,
some weird money
There was a
thing.
snafu on the payment, and we got a bottle of wine.
That's what it was.
Yes. So,
All right.
that's all I have.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Then second and third, all those in favor, say aye.
Bye.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye,
wonderful-
y'all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah.
Hi, Marilyn.
And Kara gave us a thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Kara, hanging on till the very end.
I handed my thing to gather the names.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
that's nice.